Oh, hello. So, this stream is going to be a shorter one. Gonna do a Pomodoro session of Code Wars. Then I'm gonna do a little bit of the NASA API from yesterday that I didn't complete. So, anyone can enter their own API key and get that working. And lastly, I will be updating the timestamps for Leon's latest, Learn with Leon's latest got the office hours, so I'll synchronize those up, get them updated, and by then they'll probably be running, so that's why it's gonna be a shorter stream. I might stream later tonight after, depends on how tiring or how exhausted I am. But let's see if I have this command. Hey, thanks for the look, Ryan. See if I did this work. Yeah, I got that command working too. See, the bot is alive. Okay, so let's start with Fibonacci. It's right here up on the front. Yeah, Ryan, we have improvements. Thanks for stopping by. So where am I going? I'm going to this thing. Here we go. So Fibonacci. First code was here. There we go. It's already opened. Okay, I'll drop in chat. Anyone wants to follow along or see what's going on? Whoa, and it just tried to throw me in Haskell. We are not doing this in Haskell. Oh, we're not even doing this. Oh, there's no JavaScript option for this one. Okay, we're going with a fun Python Code Wars today. Let me see if I find a better one, though. I don't know. Let's see. Code Wars be loading. Oh, I've already completed those. Set the filters. Now you know what? Fibonacci ain't that difficult of a thing. Let's go ahead and do that. Not going to be JavaScript, but I will show the JavaScript solution after. So, as this is math, I don't remember what's going on. So let's do a refresher on what is the Fibonacci sequence precisely. Sequence starts from 0 and 1, blah. So yeah, it's the last two values combined. So 5 plus 8 is 13, 8 plus 13 is 21, 13, 21 is 34. Okay, I figured that part out. The nth element of the Fibonacci sequence. Yep, that's right, Gene. Just had to remember the math. Always good to look it up just to make sure. So we can go with a list. 2 equals, I believe the initial of the Fibonacci sequence was 0 or 1. So that's the 0th, that's the 1th. So 0 and 1. So if, let's see, goals will be a thing for in range. And so we're just going to do this many times. So next equals 2, 0 plus 2, 1, and it'll be 2.hop from the front, and then 2.append to the end. The next one, then it'll be returned to 1 or 0. It's probably going to be off by 1 in one direction. 2 should equal 3. Okay, so I'm off by 1, so we do n plus 1. Okay, 1 should equal 0, 2 should equal 1. Do it that way. Watch me mess up on some math. Okay, so the 0th should 0, second should be 1. Probably need to hard code these initials. So if n plus equals 0, return 0. If n equal 1, return 1. Otherwise, let's return the 1 at the front, I believe. Okay, so 2 should equal 1. So the second of Fibonacci, 0, 1, 2. So last 2 plus that. let's look at 2. Probably not a good idea to do the optimal sequence first. 13 should equal 8. Okay, so they're off by 1 in that direction. And there we go. I just stumbled my way through it. So let's see if I can not hard code these two. Okay. Looks like I don't need to hard code those. Okay. So this is basically the Fibonacci sequence. I can optimize this by not using a list. So last equals, well, I'm in 2 last, so last, great variable names. So last is 0, and last is 1. I can use variable swapping to make these, because the popping is not a free action, especially when I'm doing it from the front. Although I could just reassign the thing entirely, which is what I will do. So 2 equals to 0, well, to 1, and next. So let's do that. That's the first optimization. And honestly, that's, I believe, equal, because I do have the array construction, but that's not as expensive as the pop and all. So yeah, I believe this is good. I'm really surprised there's not a JavaScript of this. It probably does exist, just under a different name. So we're gonna go search that one down just for completeness. And here's the 2 variable pair one I was thinking about implementing. X equals y, y equals y plus x. Yeah, it's much more clean. Here's using the entire list. The disadvantage is that you will create such a large list in memory. Large list in memory, large list in memory. It works. Ooh, computed. Oh, a recursive one. That is fancy. And here's the one I initially started off with. Basically. Cool. Okay, let me try and find the next one. Thinkful list drills longest word. Takes one argument, a list of words, and returns the length of the longest word in the list. Okay, this one sounds good. We get back to JavaScript. That is great. Okay, I drop this. I want to follow along. There we go. Okay, so there are a number of good ways to do this. First, check if not words. Well, I think there's always going to be words, but I would check if it's empty, and if so, return 0. But we can trust that it's not empty, so what we're going to do is iterate through all the words while keeping track with an external variable of the longest word seen. So it's initially going to be 0. So because we haven't seen any words, the longest word we've seen is 0 long. Then for every word, we're going to compare the length of that word to the longest word length seen. If it's greater than, then we're going to update the longest length of the word seen to this current word length. If it's not, we're going to do nothing, and when we end, we will return what it is the longest word we've seen. So, longest equals 0 for const word of words, good old classic for of loop, and we're going to check if word.length greater than longest, then longest equals word.length. And then finally we return longest. That does as expected and passes all the tests. Now, what other variations can we do? Well, one variation is we can use a normal for loop with the 3 separate statements. Let I equals 0, I less than words dot length, I plus plus, and instead of saying word, we can declare a variable const word equals words I. It's one variation we can use. What's another variation? We can start getting into some functional stuff, but not before we do our old math trick. So I did this like 2 streams ago when finding the longest thing. We can say longest equals math.max. Remember, math.max returns the largest number from all the numbers you pass to it. So if we pass the current longest and the length of the current word, it'll pick the longest from that, or the largest number from that, and store that in longest. So if we run that, again, it passes all the tests as expected. And as far as the difference between these, there are like slight differences. Like this one is always doing reassignment, and it's calling another function, so maybe it's more expensive, maybe it's more readable. Really depends on your preference. Now, the last one, and the one I'm going to settle on, is using reduce. Spooky functional reduce. So remember, looking at this here, we have a for loop going through all the things, and then we have one external variable. This is what always tells me this is reducible. And even if you have multiple external variables, you can still reduce that. It's basically when you're tracking something outside that modifies based on the current element in the loop. That is possible to make a reduce. Not always the best idea, but possible. So that is what we're going to finish on. So words.reduce. Now, reduce takes, the callback to reduce takes a number of parameters, but the first one is the accumulator value. Now, to match our for loop here, we're going to call this longest. And to match our for loop in our old for loop, we're going to call the current element in the array, or the current word, word. Word, there you go. And then in here, we're going to do some stuff, but not before we set the initial value to 0. Just like how we set the initial value of longest to 0. Because if we don't set the initial value to 0, it will be the first of the array, which is a word. But you can do that with this particular one. You can use that, but it wouldn't be the identical code to this. So going through that, now we're going to return which is the longest number. So we can use our math trick, or we can use our if trick. Well, I'm going to steal the if trick. So if word is length higher than longest, we return word length. Otherwise, we can return the longest. Now that should do the trick, and it does. But we're on Codewars, so we gotta be crazy with it. We gotta turn this into our ternary operator. We're going to return, because we can see we have basically 2 conditionals. We have if this is true, do this. Otherwise, do this. Very optimal for ternary. So if this is true, return this. Otherwise, return this. So that was the ternary conversion. Since this arrow function now has a single line, we can remove its body, aka its curly braces, and take advantage of the implicit return to get that. And from this point, we can either choose to use our ternary or choose to use our math.max. But I will do one more weird thing, and I will destructure the length from the current word. Because we don't need the word, we need the length of the word. So with that final bit, it's about as code-warsy as I'm going to make it. And with that submission, I'll check out the solution Ryan just posted. Oh, sorting. That's a good one. So sorting and then just getting the longest, check the length of that. I suppose time complexity is going to be the same because you still got to go through all of them. Although, perhaps this complexity might be better. Well, it can't. That's a good one, yeah. It is a simpler one, I'd say. See any other solutions. Okay, max of all the lengths. Reduce math thing. Yeah, there are a couple different ways to do this. I'm trying to think though, because like, yeah, this one is somewhat readable. But then so it's more readable if you don't know what all these things do, perhaps. But with this one, if you know what sort does, even if you don't know what sort does, you can assume it's sorting, and then 0th is going to be the longest, picking the length of that. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, honestly, I can't pick like which one I would prefer. Oh, there's another sort. Yeah, they just didn't go with the arrow function. Let's check out the discuss. Maybe some experts in here know if the sort's better. Okay, no one talks about sort. Maybe... Nope, no one talks about it. Yeah, that is an interesting one. Okay, let's see what is sum up the random string. Given a random string consisting of numbers, letters, and symbols, sum up the numbers in the string. Consecutive integers, a single number. All numbers should be treated as positive. Typical one before should be treated as the numbers 3 and 14. Okay, so there are no decimals. Okay, this is an interesting one. Hey, yeah, Ryan, have good dinner, man. I already got mine earlier, so yeah, I'll catch you in class, if not earlier. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for that particular solution. That made me think there. So let's see, we can do some magical regex, but I promise I won't hit you with the regular expressions. Boom. There's the current one. I think we can just go through the numbers, just count digits. Don't even need to do anything fancy. Although, okay, we'll look at the regular expression. So stir.match, and then we will regular expression digit plus, so we want all the digits with at least 1. And then what's that return? Value's not what was expected. Thank you, test. I knew that. I wanted you to tell me what it was. Console log that. Okay, yeah, so it's... Ooh, I need a global flag on this. That would help. There we go. So this 112. Okay. Regular expressions. It's almost cheating. So I can return this map number for small number, then sum. I can use my fancy reduce sum num sum plus num, and I will show the easier and simpler variant. I just want to see if this works. Of course it does. Almost. Okay. Ooh, if there are no numbers. Okay. So we need to OR and then default it to an array. Again, I will also explain what that does. No, you can't do that. Huh. Reduce of empty array. Okay. I will add that. I will explain what that does. I have so many things I need to explain. Okay, so let's not do this or empty array thing. Can I get by without that? Nope, I need that. Okay, so number of things to explain here. We have a few things. Let me separate them line by line so I can refer to line numbers. Okay, just made it less readable. There we go, back to readability. Well, it's almost back to readability. It's readable enough. Okay, first we have the regular expression. So the match method of a string, basically, it does two things, depending on if you have a global flag on your regular expression. That's what this little G stands for. So this regular expression basically means group together all the digits that are at a count of at least 1. So if there are 0 digits, nothing goes in this group. But if you find 1 digit, then add it and keep finding them consecutively. Once you're done, put it in a group. You know what? I don't know if I need the group. I didn't need the group. Okay, so ignore the group part of that. Basically, collect as many digits as possible, and then return that as a match. Now, when I made it global, it basically said, don't give me the whole match information, like the index and all of this meta information. Just give me the actual content. So that's what this does. But what happens if there are no numbers in the string? Well, this match returns null, which is falsy. But we're calling map on it, and map only works on arrays, because map is a method of arrays and arrays only, at least in our specific case. So we always want there to be an array we can map over and then do all our magic stuff. So what we're doing is we're saying use whatever this is, if it's truthy, so if this returns at least an array, this will be used. If this doesn't return an array and it returns null, which is falsy, we use the OR operator to say we want this or an empty array. So when this returns null, instead of us mapping over null, which would be the error, what we got before, we'll be mapping over this here empty array. So that's what that little trick does. Now, our map over number, what this basically does is, because we have our normal map, which is our transformer, you have value in, new value out. So you can transform it however you want, and you can use the number constructor here, just like so. You can also use any other way you'd like to convert it to a number, like the unary plus operator, parse int, literally, however you want to convert it to a number, it's up to your heart's content. But what I did was I went with the number constructor, or it is the constructor. Well, it's also, I don't know, I take that back. It is and it isn't. So I went with the number method here, and what that does is that takes a number, it takes a single parameter, value, and converts it to a number. And what map does is it passes it 3 values, the current number, the index, and then the entire array. But since number only cares about one parameter, it throws away the other 2 and receives just a number. This is important specifically for number, because if you try to pass it parse int, it's going to be real awkward if this don't work. You see, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because if we look at the documentation of parse int, it basically, parse int receives multiple parameters. It can receive multiple parameters. So the first one, it is passed what you want to parse. The second one is the radix or radius, basically the base of the number. So remember, map is passing 3 things to it. It's passing value, I for index, and array. So it's calling parse int with parse int, value, I, and array. Now, when we were calling number with these 3 things, number just ignored the other 2. But when you call parse int with it, it takes this first one, as it does, but the second one, it thinks this is a radix, this is the base of the number, so I'm going to use that. And initially it's 0, but then it's 1, which is why we get all kinds of weird stuff. Yeah, that's right, Gene. Number takes in 1, but parse int takes in 1 or 2. Okay, that was not the docs. Number constructor, here it is. Yeah, so you see it takes in just 1. And when you pass more parameters or more arguments than something receives, the other ones are just ignored. It's not like in Python where you have to exactly match the count. Like if you pass in too many, it'll yell at you like, you passed 5, I was expecting 4, or you passed 3, I was expecting 5. JavaScript's like, you pass however many you want. Whatever you don't pass, I'll make it undefined. So with number, it just takes the 1, that's all it cares about. But parse int takes the value and an optional base. Now when we don't pass this, it defaults to 10, but when you do pass it, or when you write something that passes it, like a map, pass it to map, it passes it, which makes it not work. So if you're going to use this little Codewarsy trick, make sure to know exactly what this thing you're passing receives, or else you're going to get weird nans and stuff. Yeah, so that's what that trick does. Number. Yeah, that's where it's like, ooh, JavaScript can do anything. It's like, oh, JavaScript will do anything. It's less of a feature, more of a threat almost. It's gonna do everything. Nope, I did not mean to submit that. Ah, darn it. Oh, back in there. Past solutions. Yoink. There we go. So yeah, that's what that trick does. And then we have our reduce. So this is probably the most common usage of reduce. Adding up an array of numbers into a sum. So we start off with 0, that goes to our sum. Then we have our current number, sum plus number. That result goes to the next iteration of sum. Next number. This is the most common usage of reduce. It's what everyone learns. Now, this is obviously a very Codewarsy solution. The non-Codewarsy solution, at least the non-regular expression one, would be traversing through the string index by index. I won't implement this one because I think it's literally about to be a break. But it would be indexing character by character, and then once you find a number, holding that index or adding that character to something, and continuing to traverse until you find a non-character. So you would add 2, you would add 0, 1, and 5. You would add it to this external variable, like the current number. And then you would find comma. So when you find comma, you would say, okay, I have a current number. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to turn it into a number. So I'm going to parse it. I'm going to add it to my sum or store it somewhere, do something with it. And then I'm going to continue on looking through all the stuff till I find a number, or until I find a digit, add it to the current number. Then I find a non-digit, and I take that number in memory and add it, store it, and do whatever I want. The trick about this is that when you get to the end, so I take this example 2, you're going to find a number, but then your loop's going to end. So you'll need to make an additional check after your loop has finished executing to be like, hey, are there some digits in memory or in this variable? If they are, do exactly what I was doing inside the loop whenever I found a non-digit character, add it to the sum, store it somewhere, etc., etc. But yeah, when you know a little bit of regular expressions, you can any string parsing, you can kind of cheat your way through. And look right there. It's like, did I write this? I just wrote more readable variable names. Okay, res plus equal. Okay, yeah, they did more. That's actually another regular expression thing. Another regular expression. Did anyone not use regular expressions? Okay, someone imported a library. Don't think that's in the spirit. Okay, literally everyone. Okay, I'm trying to find a non-regular expression. Somewhere around here. Oh, I actually went down to the second page. Let me start this break timer, because I thought it'd be like, there's one just like right here. No, apparently they're way down there. I'll find one. Okay, here's a non-regular expression. So we have, wow, that's a lot of logic. Okay, yeah, so they're essentially going through all the digits, checking that it is a number and it's not space. Basically, they're checking it if it's a digit. If it's a digit, you're going to add it to your number array, keeping track of it. Once we find a non-digit, we're going to check if we have any numbers, any digits in our current number. If so, parse it, push it to the actual numbers, and then classic reduce to sum up all our stuff. Yeah, that is the solution. Basically every way possible, which is 2 ways, with regular expressions and without regular expressions, apparently. Make sure to take a break, stretch, all the good stuff. I will. So we got 3:30. Oops. Got this newfangled timer here. Okay, it's a lot of ellipses. That's fine. Okay, and as the break comes to a close, I am going to. So, this is one of the things like I need to do stuff, but hey, first of all, might as well stream it. Might be somewhat interesting to see the process, see how the butter is made, or whatever that particular expression is. So, yeah, this is office hours. Got a bunch of timestamps. Gonna sync them up. That's about it. Then just gonna upload them accordingly. Let's fix this one. This one got destroyed. Because Leon was speaking like literally at second 0, so it's like, okay, Leon. Okay, let's see how that broke the data. Edit 0, 0. It would help if I was in the text box. It'll help if I would put my zeros in. Okay, so what this is, and this is something I'm currently developing. The way this is work, this is a user script. So if you don't know what a user script specifically is, you can think of it as a Chrome web extension, but the person didn't put it on the Chrome store because it takes effort to do that. Basically what happens is, you can see it's R2 Twitch user markers. What this tool is when a live stream is happening, like say something happening here, and I want to record a marker. I push the B key in my keyboard, and this is when I record, like, when Leon asked a question, or slide 52. Then I hit enter, and it's hard to see, but it adds a little marker right here to the timeline, and you can see it over here. And more importantly, it adds it to this list. Because like if you're wondering how I timestamped all the YouTube stuff, this is how I do it. I made this extension. I use this extension to essentially create the timestamps and adjust them accordingly.
JSON object.
Oh, be quiet, Leon. Sorry, I didn't mean to click that. And basically, I do all this to create the extensions or to create the timestamps, and then when I'm done, I click Edit, which just gives me the text file. I copy this to one of my mini scripts, so I save it basically. And then the script automatically generates a YouTube comment accordingly. It updates the timestamp slide, and it does all the magic stuff. So this is why I said it's like I might as well show you how the magic is done. As you can see, these are done live, so you can see most of them are accurate enough. Some of them are not accurate, like Leon starts speaking there. This one's here, so like play. I try to navigate.
First time in office
hours. Turn it down quite a bit there. Got sound mixing, but there are like a few keybinds that I can do to like adjust the timestamps left and right, which is how I get them pretty accurate to where they are.
A little bit. Chill the music. Chill the music a little bit. Maybe if we'll bring a little bit. We'll bring back if we.
So at least in the office hours, this is an easy one. It's only an hour, so I just gotta line it up to the questions.
How do we navigate?
There you go. See, now that I've lined this one up, I make sure I spelled everything's right. Then I just go to the next timestamp. See, I just lined it up with when he starts speaking that. Oh yeah, that I am the one. I guess I kind of just assumed, but yeah, I'm the one who that's my comment at the one. It's like for whomever needs the timestamp to the slides, here they are. That's my template. And y'all get to see my mistypos.
As you've seen it play out in tech, especially with a remote or online focus. So the stranger acquaintance friend is once again
there we go.
Is knowing time complexity of your code to ask that question. Engaging that we ran out of time in a coffee chat that was so engaging that I was having a coffee chat.
And some things aren't useful, so I just delete them.
Mock interviews, or is it? Are you doing mock interviews? What would you say to someone who hasn't started?
Yeah, and technically anyone can use this user script. You know, it is a user script. I know that's not friendly to like how do you install the user script and all that, but it is technically available. But yeah, I don't really plan on like saying, hey everyone, look at this until I eventually convert to an extension. Which one is it? Twitch user markers. Yeah, so it's here. Once you like, the instructions are pretty alright, but it is a user script. So if extensions are if you're not familiar with it, it's going to be a little bit of a hurdle to get through installing. But it's not bad. Once you get it, it kind of just works for most part.
Talk about cross-origin authentication. Can you talk about cross-origin authentication? Technical interviews. People who want to give I keep getting people who want to give me technical interviews, but I turn them away because I feel like I don't know enough. How can I boost my confidence? So it depends on.
As you can see, when I do it live, there are tons of typos.
I struggle with focus and self-discipline. Do you have any advice? It's the idea that we're not disciplined. Do you think restarting JS at this stage is a good idea? Yes. Next question. When the official cohort is over, will you disappear? Maybe. Leon, it's Holy Week for some of us. Is Thursday's class still on, or can we have some grace for mandatory attendance for those with great attendance? Yes. So Thursday we are still going to have class, but if you celebrate Thursday as when will we start our 100 hours project? Will there be a slider or somewhere where we can see everyone's cool API projects? We'd love to see of what more people are creating. So the really cool thing, how's Simba doing? Change office hours. Did you change office? Did you show us how to hide? Can you please show project tutorial? Are we able to use that for a portfolio, or is that considered stealing some? If we follow an email that can be created to contact someone if the job asks for a reference from this city. Is there an email starting the cohort? Some are insecure about. Many are starting the cohort. Some are insecure about joining an ongoing boot camp. What can you say would reassure them that it is worth it? Try it. Join our catch-up crew. Check out the classes. This idea that we're not disciplined. We lumped that all into this. We could do. I'd rather have slow increment. My attention was. I could always do a minute. The end of the gone from like the best thing that's ever happened. 50 minutes off. You got to figure out how you're in an tough or rough. Thank you for you. Thank you for the flyer. Hey, thank you for that, Steve. Everyone's different, right? Some APIs require API. All right, next question. Some APIs require API keys. What are API keys? And is that different than the API URL? I'm trying to do a weather app. A URL is provided. API key is needed. I'm trying to do a weather app URL. Then the API URL. Then the API URL. I'm trying to do a weather app URL. I'm trying to do a weather app. A URL is provided. I'm trying to do a web URL. Then is that different than the API URL? I'm trying to do a weather app. A URL is provided. API key is needed. Yeah. So a lot of API that require know who you are, have access, or as the URL will say that short in a vast in one at G equals. So a lot of times you want things like git ignore not be pushed to get that response. We're looking here that there's only had one class on it. They don't the APIs that they really don't check. I didn't say that though. Sign up with any check the email, so you can just sign up with any email, and it's pretty. Some a long a couple weird and you get it, but I see a lot of like all like API, a lot of API on your. All right, next question. Can you explain the drink API homework and how to iterate through the ingredients? I'm super confused on how to do this. So that was part of the push homework, right? And so part of the push homework was some APIs require. Can you explain the drink? Right, get back from the cocktail. Big old jiggers the drinks. So in our A's, and so the cool each word. So it looks use and on because if you just get.
I did not realize I had left for so long. So yeah, it's taking a little longer than I anticipated.
I believe Wolf actually did it on stream. Office hours, our office hours. Like you're gonna do something after the stream. I think watching Maya and Wolf stream to their streams. Any tips for organizing GitHub and handling 100 devs projects? Should we keep most things private, etc.? I think that's up to you. I think most of the students keep most of their stuff public. No one's really going to dig through your GitHub. I think the thing where you want to be careful of making stuff public is if you have like API keys or public at this high position, then you're from pushing. How do we set commits to past states? I actually believe our other stream team member, oh, they did. All right, so maybe we can catch on history, which is cool. Like if you miss a day, you don't have to worry. You can back. I'm going to show you a lot of APIs in class or stream where we use their cognitive services, really powerful Silicon Valley hot dog. Their friend where they built a but if you could go back 10 years and you could tell yourself one thing, what would it be? Road. A relic. Until you that. Yeah, so that's the real answer, I guess. Can you please show us how to get Codewars into our GitHub since we are doing it daily? So I believe on Discord because I love it. Instead of buying it, you would have a ton of money. It was worth some of the. I'm not a lawyer. Cool. Proof count. None of the. All right. Please show a practical, real-world use case example of using getters and setters? No. Next question. No, getter really understand prime in a until we end it deeper into how do I get out of tutorial hell? I keep redoing the basics over and over again. I don't know if you're following along with our course, but if you are, whatever you see me do in class, take it. How do I get out of tutorial?
Yay, finally done. Okay, and now I export, and then this is where the magic starts happening. Let's find my archives, my CLI, which is, again, public, although the assets themselves are not, because they're not. So npm run build, first of all, because I recently made some changes. Then it will be npm run create, because this was on calendar. When was this on? This was on the 11th. And I don't have it. npm run. Yeah, I do not have it created yet. 2022 0411 Twitch VOD ID. Yoink. Discord message link. And scrolly. Chill office hours. Maybe I don't want that on stream. There you go. Clear. Okay, yep, so that creates that. npm run update. Let's see. Office hours. So yeah, it thinks it's a class because my rules say everything that's not on Sunday is a class. I'll have to fix that. Actually, that might be what I do. No, I won't be doing that now. Yeah, so we download chat. And run update. We also need to... So what else do we want to update on this? Yeah, so it's an office hours. Usually the script tells me what I'm missing, but because it thinks it's a class, so gotta update the script to figure it out. But we can update markers. See, we have no markers, so put this back in my keyboard, export. Oh, that didn't work. Q, update markers again, set, paste, there are the markers. Yeah, so there's no YouTube for this, though, so we will be doing some coding on this apparently. I gotta fix this logic, because it doesn't know it's an office hours. So I'll need to make an explicit marker for these, because it's all been dynamic so far. But apparently not anymore. We're gonna add so fetch, where's my shared, I think. One of these, do stuff. I'm looking for, not choose class, okay, it's in one of these. Fetch classes. Yes, this is the function, it does the magically, it gets it, and it tells us if it's office hours. So now what we're going to do, we have to add something else special. So we're going to check if the day equals 0, aka Sunday, or fs exist sync. We are going to go with a marker file is office hours. You need to, of course, make this path relative to the stuff. So let's see, we have absolute here, so it's going to be path.join, the absolute width, the relative, so basically checking the file exists. So it's Sunday or this file exists. That's the logic, which means I can go touch. We learned about this command, didn't we? Touch 2204, and then the numbers. Need put numbers in here. 11 is office hours, and then I do ts node source. How do I distinguish this? I'll run the update script, because that tells me what kind of stream it is. So now if I search down, yes, it is now office hours 13. Now if I click on it, nothing much has changed, but this download video option, which only exists on the office hours because all the classes are re-uploaded, so I'm no interest in downloading those. But specifically, this makes it recognizable as an office hours, which means... Is this script done? Okay, that script's done. So before I run anything, I need to run build, because things need to be rebuilt when I... This is the fun of using TypeScript or any other thing that compiles to something else. When you make changes, you need to do a build command. So I run the magic build command, and I run the validate command, which basically runs a bunch of automated checks on all the data, making sure make sure slides contain the title text, make sure videos exist, markers exist. Some of these are false positive, so like when a slide contains just a picture, it obviously don't contain text. Make sure things aren't missing, captions, all this other data. And office hours, we're only missing the video. So yeah, that is good. Now we're going to do VG Sheet. This is where I keep my URL for the Google Sheet. Just in a text file. No bookmarks, because I'm a cave person. And we run update sheet. There we go. Now if we scroll all the way to the latest, I don't want to. Don't show me new features, Google. So we go to the latest. It is class 26. Very cool. Now we run update sheet. It will find the new office hours, generate the missing worksheet, do the thing, office hours 13. If we go to the right, there it is, office hours 13. All the stuff is linked. What's this doing? No matches in the filter. Yeah, so. Oh no, I have a marker. So this is good. I accidentally left a marker in here. So we will just do npm run update, manually delete that marker, update the markers, search for left, there it is, delete. Yeah, okay, just doing a manual validation, exit npm run update sheet. So now it's a pretty smart script. It will be able to update it auto-magically. There it went. And that is it. Timestamps are all there. The RAID link is correct. Okay, we are all synced. Well, I think we're all synced. Let's check YouTube's Leon Noel. Nope, I want the YouTube. It's probably going to lead me to it, will it? No, it won't. YouTube. 5 days ago. I think I already have that one updated, but just to be sure, because this is the one part I don't have automated. Like, I manually come here and check for new videos and post the comment. Yeah, nothing there, and so it's. Did I not post it? Let me go to my other window, because the fun thing about comments is they don't always make it until like the auto mod or whatever approves it. So I post the comments. I have a comment on all of them. They're just not always there, which is why the sheet exists. Yeah. So it's here. How do I show this? Oh, I unfull screen it. That's how I do it. And then I close this little thing. Okay. Nope. Scroll here. How do I do this? Okay, here it is. Sorry, I just had to figure out a way to... I don't want to dox myself. So as you can see, timestamp is here. It's just only visible to me because the auto mod hasn't figured it out yet. So that's why the sheet exists, for those who really want the up-to-date version. Okay, so that is working. Let's start closing tabs. My computer breathes a sigh of relief. Okay, so next we are going to do, I know I didn't really do that in a Pomodoro session, but it's fine. We're going to do the NASA API. Or at least going to make this thing usable for other people. And the trick we're going to do with that is to make it, let me tab around, there we go. We're going to do this logic. Disable from when making API calls, and okay, we're going to do specifically the ability to be on API to the page, not the rest of it. So let's say where do we want to do this? We'll do it at the top. It seems like a cool place. So let me try to remember. I gotta drag this off screen to look at the API key. Yeah, okay, it's still a demo key. This is great. So API key is right here. What we're gonna do is basically build this logic out. So we're gonna make this a little more of a variable. If local storage.get a pod AP API. Well, it's get item, isn't it? Get item, yes it is. So const local API key equals here. If local API key, return local API key. So if it's saved to local API or local storage, happy day, we use that. Otherwise, we will alert, basically saying NASA key for full unrate limited access, and we will default it to demo key, I think. I don't know, let's save all this and time travel back. Yeah, demo underscore key. And this will be a prompt. That's key equals. Then we'll have another one, const if confirm. Well, first we need to check if the key is not demo key. Key not equal demo key. Well, I also need to order this with demo key. Because fun fact about prompt, if they hit cancel, that returns null / undefined. So you can give them a default in the text box, but it's not a default return value. Tricky thing there. So if the key equals demo key is not equal to demo key, basically they put a real key in and confirm. So if they put a real key in, we're gonna make up another message. Save this key to for continued use. So if they say yes, then we save it with basically this logic. But instead of get item, it is local storage set item, same key. That's awkward. The same key in local storage, but key being whatever they give us. Too many parentheses, return key. Okay, that should do the trick. Now we're gonna say const local key equals. Now this is an awkward name. Okay, we're not doing that. I was gonna put it in a variable, but I can't think of a good variable name, so it gets no variable from me. Okay, so we save this. Shift I. Everyone's happy. We start up a live server. HTML file. 11. Internet API. If I entered demo, it did not prompt me for more stuff, and it broke. Awesome. Was it supposed to do that? Oh, it's because this alert's running first. Click to view. Oh, has local storage been? That's the thing about local storage. You can poison it with your own mistakes. There we go. Okay, it's working. I'm only gonna be able to use it like 50 times, so I need to be cool with my usage. Yay! Also has left and right key presses, which I think I implemented last stream, yeah. So yeah, this feature is working. Let's update the README accordingly. Deployment. To permanently... Well, actually, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do any of this. Because there's no need for special instructions on deployment. It, quote, just works. Yeah. Okay, can I squeeze in? I got 14 minutes left. Probably only, yeah, I don't have all this time left. Avoid loading assets that we have. Ooh, we can disable the form. Let's first make this commit. First, try to make as many small commits as possible. Make API key. I haven't really tested that, have I? Okay, that's fine. NASA APod API. I'm gonna spoil how I got my API key. Don't tell no one. Hypothetically, of course. Come down here to this beautiful person's documentation, and you copy it. You didn't see nothing. Save this for continued usage. Yes. Now if I look, I refresh, I'm no longer prompted. The magic works. Let's disable the form. Make API key dynamic. I did that. So when do I disable the form? Any of the buttons are pressed. Literally any of them are pressed. That's a fair amount of things. That's adjust, that's date change, that's random button press. So let's see. All of these have a fetch, or have a get to them. So I'm kind of just shoving this in where I can make the least amount of changes. But if I do fetch a random apod that calls fetch sunny picture of the day, good. Now if I do previous and that's get picture of the day. Okay, so it's these two that are essentially doing all the stuff. Well, technically it's the fetch. It's just the fetch, because the get's practically instant, okay? Wait, is this your code you made? Yeah, this is what I made specifically last stream, which was like last night. It was my longest stream ever. It took like... So what happened was I was like, yeah, this is all the code I made from scratch starting last stream. It took 4 hours, because I added stuff. Well, the stream took 4 hours. I think this took like 3 hours or something. But I kept on adding stuff like, oh, that's going to be cool. Like, I added these previous and next buttons because I was like, that will be cool. And then I added this date picker because like, that would be cool. That was I was the definition of scope creep last night. I also added this random button, which it's a random button. And watch me try to find an example. August 2nd, 2021. Wow, what a year. It really threw me off. Oh no, okay, I've broken it. Look what I've done. I don't know what I did. So apparently it's not foolproof, because I the fool messed it up. But there's an endpoint somewhere around here with the video, like on the 31st. There we go, where I got the embed working. It's the wrong aspect ratio, because watch. It's a rectangular video, and it's a very portrait embed, but I got it working. The challenging part was getting August 2nd, 2021 working. I promised it was working. Okay, let's go to Chrome, because while I use Firefox, I know everyone else uses Chrome, so I tested it mostly on Chrome. Where are you at, Chrome? Here's Chrome. Paste. Alright, I gotta go copy the API key again. Okay, I'll just yoink it from local storage. Local storage. Ooh, there's a lot in the cache here, ain't there? Where is it? Where is it? Get item, apod, API. There it is. It's not my key, and I'm not worried about it. Okay, so if I refresh the Chrome, if I go to the Chrome, and I extend your rate limit, I know. Yes, save the key. So now if I go back to August 2nd, 2021, there you go. So it basically turns it into a link, because there are a few entries in the API that are not videos, like they're iframes or something. There's another one on the 7th. 714? I think 714. Saturn's, yeah, 713. Here it is. So this is one of the iframes that does work. So I just embedded it, and once it loads, it works. Spinny Saturn. So I don't know how many of these, like, dynamically embeddable things they have, but there's at least 2 that I found, which took a good deal figuring out how to get working, if you care. So it was a weird thing. I couldn't use an iframe because it's like a cores error. So I had to use an object. So I set the data property of the object to the URL as normal, and then I just no, you don't need to worry about this. I basically just put it in the HTML. And then I checked like a second later, and I was like, hey, if you don't have a height, that means the code, like the iframe, failed to embed. Obviously, this does something weird on Firefox, but normally, like, if you have a height, means you were able to embed. If you don't have a height, I'm turning you into an anchor, because that's the only way you can be displayed. So it took a bit to figure out how it worked, because there are things like new node, add event listener, load, and you think, oh, this is a cool event. This will tell me when it loads. And there's another one called error. It's like, oh, this will tell me when it errors. It doesn't. They're for other things apparently, not for like how iframes work or whatever. So I had to figure that out. Read a couple Stack Overflows. It figured it out, thankfully, but after I got that, yeah, I just kept on scope creeping on this. Ironically, the thing I'm the most proud of, so you see this cute little field set. If you've never seen a field set, this is what it looks like. It gives you a free border, and the text like stops the border. Pretty cool field set, native HTML element. I made it a button, so you can click it, and it opens and closes. And just look at how native that feels. And it's keyboard accessible too, like pushing my enter key, which is why I can see the outline, and the space key. So I was pretty proud of this, but this isn't a single element. I'm doing a switcheroo trick. So what's happening here, HTML make it a little more obvious, is we have a details element. Now this is what natively does drop downs, like MDN details. Yeah, I spent like 20 minutes on it. It's like, this ain't even related to the API, but I wanted it to work. So this is how the native details thing works. You see, it works, but like, it doesn't have, it's not like, it don't look cool. This looks cool. Like, aside from the weird outline, which doesn't happen when you normally click on it, it's like almost native. So what I did here is we have the summary. So this, just by the browser itself, opens and closes the details, which is a neat little thing. It's native. I'll, it's probably somewhere. I mean, yeah, you'll be able to see in the VOD pretty obviously when, like, you can jump to, like, when this doesn't exist versus when it does. It's somewhere in the middle. But yeah, it was an experience getting this working, because the legend, so the legend is basically, so right now it's a button. I'll be able to show this better in the DOM, actually. So I do some inspecting. So you see, right now this is the summary. When I click it, it's not the summary, it's the legend. So it's a swap. So when this is open, the summary is hidden, display none. See, watch, I undisplay it. Now we get two of them, but display none. So that's the trick I did there. But then I made the legend normally visible, and I grabbed the Unicode character for that fat down arrow, which just comes with the summary. See, I didn't add one here. It's just, well, that's awkward. See, like, I don't add like the marker. It kind of comes with it. And it is customizable somewhat. I have done it before, but I was like, I ain't got time for that. So I swapped it out with this. So it swaps for the button. And the button, there's a little bit of JavaScript magic in here, but it's not too much. It's less than 10 lines. So whenever we click the close button, which is this button right here, what this does is it says to the details.open equals false. This is specifically this open attribute. So when you set like this details element, you set it to false, it goes away. Watch it go away. It went away. So I set it to false and it's gone. And then so the details has a special event called toggle. Now technically this has no impact on the functionality. Like, it still works without it. What that does do is that does keyboard like auto-focusing, because I try to make my stuff mostly compliant, like accessible and all. So this toggle event basically happens whenever the details goes from open to closed. Toggle. Oh, there are 30. Yeah, so here it is. It's in the docs. So toggle basically happens whenever it opens or closes. You can do stuff based on that. So the stuff I did is, okay, if we just opened, then we want to grab the closed button. if we just closed, we want to grab the summary, we want to focus on that, which tells the JavaScript to, tells the HTML to focus on it focuses on it with the keyboard, basically. So when I want to look at the full contents of the API call, there are two approaches. There's either console logging it. So if I go to my example, I have fetch helper, I have all these helpers, but it's all really just one big fetch. So there are 2 points. You can either console log the response, which contains a lot of information, a lot more information. So you can console log response, and then you can console log the data from the response. Now, since we're using mostly JSON, that's going to be in your second to then block, log APOD. So that's usually my approach for it, and I'm going to click a random day in a year in the past somewhere. Hopefully I'll actually hit the API. There you go. So that's what I did. I console log it, so you get to see a response which contains some stuff like status code, this information, the API key again, it's not mine. Then in the second I got my console log of the data, which contains the useful stuff that I know, like, okay, so I made these requests and I got this back. Now, if that's not doing it for you, there's another way to do it, and I'm doing this in Chrome, so most people should be able to follow along. But it's the same in Firefox and other browsers. There's a network tab here. So now there are some images in here, like you got index, you got CSS, you get all this other stuff, but eventually you'll see a fetch. It says fetch on it usually. It could also say other things, but you're looking for basically your URL. Now, I recognize this because it has API key in it, but you can click on it, and let me make this a bit bigger. It's got a lot of information here. It's got it's got URLs, it's got headers, it's got IPs, it's got a whole bunch of stuff. Usually you don't care about it all, but importantly, it's got the payload, so it's got what you sent it. Now, how you sent it, it's like, it can like change shape, but this is basically what you sent it. It's got a preview, which is cute, I guess. I don't know, it's a little preview thingy. It's got the raw response, which is the text it sent back. So you can see this is pure JSON. It's got quotes around the keys. That's very JSON-y thing to do. And that's about how you get all the information to look at it. And if you want to go even further, so if those two weren't enough, you can get into debugging, which is basically where you launch it, but you launch your browser in debugging mode. So that's an option. It's not really like we're not there yet, I don't think. Let me set up. I guess weird. Other the tabs being weird. Yeah, sorry. Let me flip that back around. So yeah, with debugging, in VS Code, you can hit F5 and choose Chrome, and turn that down. So I was opening Leon on the other things, like, when's he going live? Apparently not right now. So what you can do is open, where'd it go? So we're going to close this Chrome. This Chrome is very useful to us. After we grab one more API key, because I need to put that in my clipboard. In the clipboard you go. Okay, great. So we close that Chrome. Then we tell it to open another Chrome by hitting F5. It's F5, or you can go to the Run tab and click Run or Debug. When you do it your first time, it'll make you ask, like, do you want to do this in Chrome? And then you can tell it, use Chrome, use Edge, whichever you want. 7.0. And then I'm using live server, so if you use live server, you go to your live server URL manually, or if you're not using live server, you will go to the actual file. They're both equivalent. They just depends on if you want the magic refreshing of live server. Doesn't matter either way. Now once you're here, you see VS Code's like, we're running, and it's like, it's orange, and it's doing all kinds of stuff. So now you can be in your JavaScript and be like, I click a little red dot. It's got a breakpoint. You want to make sure it's red. If it's not red, it ain't working. So now you're on the web page. I didn't do anything. I didn't refresh. I'm going to pick a date that should make a network request. I didn't do anything. It took VS Code became focused on the window, and it took me here. I'm going to turn off word wrap because word wrap is ugly. But we are now in debugging mode. It's showing me all the variables, all this fun stuff. And if I look back at the browser, so I mean the browser's not frozen, but I can't like I can't interact with anything here. It's basically frozen, although I can scroll. So now I'm in debug mode, and we haven't learned about this, but there are tools like step over, step into, step out of, lots of tools, but you can step in usually will make it work. So I went to the next line, and I have access to the entire response object. And not only do I have access to it, I can run stuff on it. So I can response.code. Well, it would be better if I said the right thing, response.status. But if I spelled the right thing, status. So like you have access to it, you can modify it, you can literally run any JavaScript you want here. And this is of course the VS Code way of doing it. And you can console log, they happen, go to the next thing. Now we have a pod, all your data. If it's nested, you can open it. And this is the VS Code way of doing it. I'm going to hit this play button. That'll make it stop being in debug mode. I'm going to tell it to stop. And I'm going to open new Chrome, because that was the VS Code Chrome way of doing it, which some people like, some people don't. If you're not a fan of that, you can do it just in Chrome. So a little less setup. You're on the Chrome page, got to open DevTools, and you got to go to the Sources tab. Now in here, you basically see your original code. You can make your own breakpoint just like that. It's blue instead of red, and it's got this bigger badge. But you can do this in Chrome. And fun fact, this is what VS Code was doing behind the scenes the entire time. So now that you've done that, now it's a little bit more explicit. It's like paused in debugger, so you get to actually see this if you're doing this in Chrome. Once you do that, though, it is working. Sorry. Yeah, and you have the same controls as you do here. Step over, step in, and you have like the current variable apod. You have the access to your console, apod.copyright. So that's, yeah, that's what that's what I was about to switch over to. But yeah, I will probably be streaming like at 10, so like an hour after they're done. Or like you can probably catch the VOD later. But yeah, do gotta jump to Leon. Hey, thanks for coming by, and hope I was able to explain some of it for you. How do I push the buttons? Where are the buttons? Buttons. There we go. Okay, and hey, yeah, thanks for everyone for stopping by. I am going to jump off because Leon is starting. And yeah, have a good one. Hope it was somewhat educational.